Of course, I cough when I kick off live. Hello. Welcome to this week's version of Together We Feel. This conversation, this panel, this warms my heart. It's one of my most favorite things that I've been able to do and continue to do. I'm calling this Freedom Week here at the Embracing Layers Network for a lot of reasons. We are wrapping up Pride Month here in the United States and across the globe for that matter. We just honored, celebrated, recognized, talked about Juneteenth here in the United States, which recognizes the day that the slaves in the state of Texas finally received word 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation that freed them. 2.5 years later, word finally got to them that they were free. So a lot of conversations around that and the history involved in that. And now we're approaching the 250th anniversary here in the US of the United States. And that's coming up on July 4th, this Saturday. We're doing this live on a Monday. We'll be sharing it throughout the week. I'll be promoting it actively on our socials on Friday, but it's going to be living here. And this conversation to kick off what I'm calling Freedom Week starts with us, our own personal freedom, what that feels like. And that's why I'm calling this No Longer Abandoning Yourself. What does that mean? For me, it means freedom. No longer abandoning yourself means that you're free in your soul. You're free and content with you're living in alignment with your values. You know who you are. You know what fills your cup and how to care for yourself. You're confident in expressing and communicating your healthy boundaries, your expectations for your life. You have a sound sense of what your values are. You know how to describe yourself and who you are as a person, as a woman, not based on all of your titles and roles, but who you are inherently. And this is what drove me to do this work, to start these conversations, to help women get to this space where they could stop abandoning themselves and start living out of the freedom of who they are. And I've asked these friends to join me today for this conversation because we all have our story to this. We all have our route to this that we all continue to be on. I think it's very important we understand that no longer abandoning ourselves and living freely and understanding what that means is an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing pursuit. The framework that I've created here at the Embracing Layers Network has given me first, and what I decided, wait a minute, this has helped me. I think it can help others. A roadmap to allow yourself to keep coming back and asking yourselves the questions you need to ensure that you're living from that space and place. And I think it's always important to tell women, this is not going to fix everything. This is giving you a roadmap to allow you and open those doors for you. My friends, Amanda J. Scott and Jess Vanrose, who are joining me from all over the world today. We are in US, we are in Canada, and we are in Australia currently at all different times of the day, and in some cases, different days. Amanda has already jumped to Tuesday, which is good news. We got there, folks. We got to Tuesday. Jess and I are in the afternoon here in different time zones in the US, but they're going to share their journey of no longer abandoning themselves, the resources they offer, how they got there, what it means to them. And the hope is that this will open up conversations with other women you know. You might hear something today that alerts you to, oh, gosh, I never thought about it that way. Oh, I can do that. There's resources for that. She got through that and made that decision for herself. That's possible. All of these things I'm hoping will invite, remind, light up all of those things within us as we think about what it means to live freely. That work starts with us. So thank you, Amanda and Jess, for joining me. Amanda, Why don't you start? You've been with me on panels. You've been on the podcast. So has Jess. These good friends continue to contribute to this platform I've built. Talk to me about this topic and why you wanted to be part of this conversation.
Well, I think it's about, no longer walking away from the person that you truly are.
Mm.
And the biggest thing that I really discovered, and I think it's very, very common, and I see it in clients, that we sometimes we lose ourselves. And we lose ourselves not all at once, but in all different areas of our lives. And it's little by little, when
Mhm.
we actually don't even realize it. Um, we lose ourselves in relationships by accepting less than we deserve. And that's a big one. And it's an ongoing one. And it's not
Mhm.
just loving relationships, it's relationships with friends. And it's out there with everybody, really. It's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
Um, in our boundaries, we lose ourselves.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
By saying yes when we want to say no.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And we don't feel free and safe saying it, so we don't.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the
What
voice as well is another one.
mm.
When we, by staying quiet to
Mhm.
keep the peace, then we're lost. When we stay quiet to keep the peace, then we're not really expressing ourselves, are we? Or we're not there. So there's a lot of different areas that we, lose ourselves, and it's about checking into those areas. Yes, you know, with in all of them, the relationships, yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's how we come back to ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
And an ongoing thing. It just doesn't, it's an ongoing thing, but it's where you manage it. So you always, you never losing yourself completely. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Because you know how to
I,
catch it. You said something so important. It happens in these little increments. It's
yeah,
usually not this one big moment. It's over time. And then all of a sudden you stop and you realize, oh my gosh, if
yeah,
someone were to ask me who
mm,
I was today and what my values are and what fills my cup and what I care about, would my answers be a reflection of me or just all of the other voices and noise around me?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So yeah, I've lost myself in every area of my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
And
but yeah, yeah. But you
but you came
do.
home to yourself. You found your way back.
I did. I found my way back, and it didn't matter how long it takes you, as long as you come back to yourself. Yeah, come back to yourself, and and that is freedom. When you come back to
Mm,
yourself, that is freedom. Freedom to
yeah.
make the choices and decisions of your life. Freedom to live life like it feels like yours, not shaped by fear or guilt or survival. Yeah. And that is freedom, yes.
Mm. Oh, thank you for that, Amanda. So good. All right, Jess, how about you? What was it about this topic that you said, oh, I want to be part of that?
Oh, well, me and self-abandonment have such a long history.
Okay.
Um, so I have a slightly different perspective on this because my self-abandonment was actually taught to me as a child, um,
Mm.
growing up in an abusive household. And I was taught that my needs and wants didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even something that I would ever even think about. And in fact, I would go so far as to say that I was taught that boundaries were dangerous because
Mhm.
when I would try to implement or practice a boundary for myself, um, the particular person who was my abuser would specifically do exactly what I asked to not be done. So it was
Mm,
I was taught that it was not safe because it's better if I keep quiet, because then maybe it won't happen. But if I say, please don't do this, then it definitely will happen. So yes, that was my life, self-abandonment, because that's what I felt safe, unfortunately. And then I grew up and I moved through all of my healing and got myself through survival mode. And then one day it was like, wait, hold on a second. My needs and wants matter? Like, what is this? This is brand new. And it was scary. It was terrifying, especially because it had been ingrained in me that it was dangerous and potentially harmful to actually vocalize those things. But I learned to trust myself. I learned to trust that I could get myself through anything that came my way. I learned that I could trust whether I felt safe to say something or not, because sometimes there are instances where it doesn't feel safe to set a boundary or to vocalize it, and I think that that's okay when we choose to keep safe if that's what feels right for us, like to not vocalize it if that's what feels safe for you. But like you said, Amanda, it is like those moments of where you kind of give and give and give and give. I think it's okay to give one or two times, like especially in relationships, we talk about compromise, but again, that's not to a point where you are abandoning yourself, where you are saying like, this is fundamentally a piece of me that I am setting aside for you. But we have to just keep checking in, I think, in those moments and being like, am I losing a piece of myself by giving you this?
Definitely.
And that question has been huge for me, because especially in relationships and with my past, I have always been like, okay, is this too much? Am I responding from a trauma response, or am I actually asking for something that's reasonable? And that question for me, it's, am I giving up a piece of myself for whatever you are asking for? And that's what has been a game changer for me.
Yeah. You see, I think this is so important because this is an example of how multiple things can be true. This can both, because I talk to many women across the board who I'm like, man, I don't get how I got there. I grew up in a pretty healthy household and I had pretty good examples in my life. And then all of a sudden, I literally had this conversation with the podcast guest a couple weeks ago. And she goes, then all of a sudden I found myself in this relationship, in this place, in this space that wasn't anything that I was built for. And then I realized I was able to identify, oh, that vulnerability was exposed when that thing happened. And I think we also realize you can grow up in the healthiest household that is out there, and there are still cultural narratives that exist for women. They're going to creep into your thoughts and your processes and what you're taught. They're so ingrained that we don't even know they're a problem or unhealthy until they become a problem and unhealthy. And then we've been taught to question ourselves on, oh gosh, well, if I question that, is that safe for me? Because it's been very clearly shown and exhibited and modeled and shared in this cultural narrative that I live around, that it is or isn't. And then that's how you, like, over time, you think. I've talked to many women. I even talking with my daughters, they've had friends who are like, gosh, I feel guilty for struggling because I had a healthy this, I had a healthy that. I shouldn't be. I'm like, no. We need to get rid of the shouldn't be's. There's plenty of language and narratives and expectations and stereotypes out there that even within those spaces, it still creeps in, it still bleeds in. And that's why it's so important to be mindful and aware and checking in with yourself regularly. That question that Jess uses, that notion that Amanda checks in with herself about the safety piece and feeling safe. Does it feel safe? Does this feel honoring? The framework I created, the questions I've specifically given to you, ask yourselves these regularly. This helps you stay on track. I do it very regularly. All the time, because of, no matter where you enter into these places of starting to walk away from who you are. Mindy, you said that so well. I walked away from, I was walking away from me, and women are walking away from themselves instead of coming back home to themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think that and then Jess, you talked about how you learned it from the very first age. I can relate to both of you. I both learned it from a very early age and also thought I'd figured out the script, and then realized how many things were buried inside of me that came out in different seasons that I hadn't unpacked yet, that were still impacting me. So both things can be true. Amanda, is there anything Jess said that you have any questions about?
No, but yes, I understand. Yes, it does happen. It does happen when you're born. So you don't know the difference. It's like you don't have a reference point to be treated with kindness and respect.
Yeah.
And I think what happened, the biggest problem with me is how I interpreted the signs of love. Because when I got married, I was convinced of one thing, that my husband loved me. When he called me 12 times a day to see where I was, what I was doing, when I'd be back home, in my mind, I thought that he was cared for me so much. When he was critical of all my friends that I was seeing at the earlier part of our relationship, I thought he was showing me how he was concerned for my well-being, because I had to think of that, because I wanted to be loved. And so I got mixed up with those signs. So really what it comes down to is to acknowledge where you are at the moment, and then have some clarity. Other people's, and sometimes when you're in an abusive marriage, you don't have anybody else talking to you. You're isolated from friends, so you don't have a different perspective, but you need that clarity. Acknowledgement is just saying, yeah, this is what's going on at the moment. But your clarity is where you build that confidence up. You decide, no, a healthy relationship is is a place of safety, is a place of kindness, of respect. But when abuse is present, it strips away at those foundations, and it leaves you living in survival.
Yeah.
So it's having clarity. What is a healthy relationship? It's freedom. Yeah. You can make mistakes. You can have those boundaries and still be loved. And respect is not negotiable. It is a baseline. That is a baseline. Yeah.
That safety piece, boy, that is such a great, if you are like, I should feel freer, I don't feel as free as I should, I'm looking at my life, I'm not understanding, ask yourself where you feel unsafe. That might be, because I give you basic questions like identify your character traits and identify those activities that nourish you. And sometimes women are like, I don't even know. I don't know what that is. So if you don't feel safe, get curious about that. Get curious about what feels unsafe. Why does it feel unsafe? Because if we don't feel safe, we are not free. You cannot have a lack of safety and a feeling of freedom coincide. There has to be safety in order to feel freedom.
Yeah. That's right. Emotional stability and
Mm-hmm.
financial stability. Yeah, both
Yeah,
of
that's
those. Yeah,
yes,
they
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Jess, how about you? Any questions for Amanda?
What I would love to add to that is because I think for me, I didn't for like it wasn't until probably recently that I
Mhm.
actually knew what safety felt like in my body. Um, and so
Mm.
what I would say for people even before that stage is still like checking in with your body, but like I think what it felt like for me was it was trying to pay attention to I'm picturing in like conversations or situations that are coming up. It's like that tiny little feeling that comes up that's like, "Ooh, that doesn't feel good." And, like,
Mm.
that it doesn't have to be, like, big warning bells, it doesn't have to be a
Mm,
specific, like, "I feel unsafe." It's just, like, that tiny little, "This doesn't feel good."
Yeah.
That is your, like, I think your earliest sign before you maybe even have that safety language of, like, "Something's not right here.
mm, mm,
This is bumping up against something inside me," and it doesn't always mean that it's the other person, like, encroaching on your boundaries. It could
Sure.
be that you maybe have a trigger that's being pushed against, and it's something for you to work through. But either way, Melissa, I love your statement. Approaching it with curiosity instead of judgment, we can,
mm,
like, really figure out what is at the core of that. But
Yeah.
I had another situation happen the other day, and I was like, "Oh, this might be interesting to bring up on the panel," because
Mhm.
I think that this is, again, yet another different perspective. So, in the healing world where, like, we have all of these conversations about, like, energies and vibrations
Mhm.
and, law of attraction, and, like, if you're in a low vibrational state, then you are attracting low vibrational things to you.
Mhm.
And like, in a way, we're attracting these negative things into our life, even if we're not necessarily meaning to, but, like, if you're in a low vibrational state, then you are attracting that because like attracts like, energy
Mhm.
attracts energy. So I had this morning the other day where I felt like shit. I was so stressed out, I was so emotional, I have so much going on in my life, and I realized that I was stressing myself out even more because in my mind, I was like, "Well, I have to get myself out of this because I'm just
Mm.
attracting more."
mm,
And I realized that, like, that's another way of abandoning myself because I was trying to bypass what I was actually feeling and, like, force myself to be in a positive or high vibration so that I'm not attracting more negative things into my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
mm,
And I think there can be a lot of, we have to be very careful that this doesn't become performance enhanced because in order to feel the kind of energy we want to feel, we have to allow ourselves to feel the emotions and process and move through the emotions that are stirring up inside us, or there won't
mm,
be the capacity to give off that kind of energy. So I think we have to be, that's why I tell people, like, check in with yourself every so often. That what you're doing for yourself doesn't just start feeling, if it starts feeling like a checklist item, then it's not doing the thing that you're asking it to do. And
mm,
it's time to sit down and write down. And this is where it takes me home to write down the emotions you're feeling. What have you been stuffing? What have you been ignoring? What did you not even realize? I have a great example. So I was just at the Central Coast in California with two of my daughters this weekend. Beautiful weekend. The ocean is my medicine. I'm not joking when I say that. The
mm,
ocean is literally my medicine. I get by the ocean, everything settles. The sea, everything settles. And so I took a couple of naps, and I was just like, I was feeling more unsettled than I realized. We've got a lot going on right now here at the network with anniversary, our 5-year anniversary coming up, and we're highlighting our top episodes from our first 10 seasons, and we're kicking off campaigns to create more community and support and all these things, and a lot of brainstorming and a lot of like updating messaging. And also there's a lot going on in my family dynamic right now as we've gone through some family weddings, and we're planning another family wedding, and kids are moving, and all we got a lot of energy happening. And I didn't realize how much of that I was like, oh, just kind of carrying that, even though I was going through my routines, but getting myself out of my home and back by the ocean, I was just like, oh my God, I feel so settled. And so it's just that reminder that you might think that you are carrying around this energy, and then all of a sudden you shift your narrative a little bit. Now, I know, even though I can't go there every day, I know the ocean is a place. It's one of my things that I for me, it's really healthy for me to get there as often as I can. And I'm fortunate now. I'm only 2.5 hours away. I have a sister-in-law with one house on the coast and a daughter and son-in-law with another house on the coast. I've got keys to 2 houses on the coast that I can pretty much go to anytime I want to now, within a reasonable driving distance, which is a huge like blessing in my life that I get to enjoy in this season. But I had, being able to go there, it was such a reality check for me of like, so going back to what Jess said, sometimes it's okay. It's good to shake things up, or like, if you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to put off a certain energy, it's not going to happen. It's got to happen organically. It's got to happen when our system has the room for it. And we've moved through the things that are trapping us from getting there. So be very careful. And this is why you guys have heard me say this before. It is one of my pet peeves. If it's not involved in a full conversation about processing emotions, as a gratitude journal. Only have your gratitude journal if you're leaving room in that gratitude journal to be grateful for the space to feel all your feelings and process all your emotions. Or it's going to be forced if you're just pushing. Oh, that's negative. That's why I also am a strong believer there are no negative or positive emotions. Emotions are clues. These are all things that inhibit our ability to not abandon ourselves. Because if we feel like something is like, oh, that's not going to be welcomed here, or there's not going to be the space for that here, I'm not sure who's going to be attracted to that here, I better put that away. Anytime you're asking yourself, do I have to put that away? If you have to put something away that you feel like you need to, this part of you, that's abandoning yourself for the comfort of someone else, which is something Amanda talked about earlier. So thank you so much, Jess, for bringing that up. I think that's really important. Excuse me. So excited. I'm getting choked. Choking up my own excitement. I think we have to be really mindful of these habits we get in. It's good to have habits. It's good to have a routine. I talk about all the time. Put yourself in your schedule. Make sure that schedule and what you put into it that's supposed to be filling you up and allowing you space is actually doing that for you.
And I think if I could come in here, I think you need a safe place. Jess, did you find a safe place? I mean, my safe place was the park. Amongst the trees, the birds. This is where I needed to get away from the chaos in my life. And I found the park a place where I could just be me. And I used to get my emotions out there. I mean, if I was angry, I'd walk, and I'd get those emotions and I'd be thinking about it, and I would be, if I wanted to cry, I could cry, you need a place like that you can get all that, those, negative emotions out of your body and express them. And by doing it, and physically do something to move
it
them
out.
Move them out. That's right. Because, once they stay in that body, they don't disappear,
No.
They come out as tension in the body and exhaustion. So it's really important. And that's where I used to go, to the park. Yeah. Did you have a place?
Yeah,
Jess,
so
did you have
similar.
a place where you, felt
Similar.
safe in?
Yeah. So I without going too much into my
Yes.
own background, but
Um,
I was pretty limited. Like I was very, very closely watched.
Mm.
So there was a place when I could go there.
yeah.
And it was also nature, not quite a
Yeah.
park, but it was nature.
Mhm.
Um, and when I could go there, it felt great to just
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
by
And you
myself.
felt like yourself.
Yeah,
You could
exactly.
be you.
Yeah.
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 And I
Or
think
really just like breathe. Like that's
yeah.
even more than feeling like myself. It just felt like I could breathe.
Yeah. The space to
Mhm.
breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what were you gonna say, Melissa?
Well, I think that space to breathe piece, I want to go back to what you said about sometimes you don't even know that you aren't feeling that safe or settled until you get in a space where you do for the first time.
Yeah.
So I remember the first time I realized many years ago that mountain lakes and the water and the sea
Mm.
and the mountains were like spaces where everything I was like, I would get in there. I'm like, wait a minute, what is this? Like,
Mm.
and how do I tap into this? This is, I've never, I don't have a lot of conscious memories of like, oh, this is when they talk about safety and freedom. This is must be what it feels like. And I remember when I was really diving in and really getting really granular in my therapy and starting to really pull things apart 6 7 years ago. I was by the ocean and I just started to, and I would go to the ocean. And every time I went to the ocean during this period of time, and about every 3 to 6, sometimes 9 months, I'd get to the ocean. I wasn't living as close at the time, but I had family that lived close. So every time I visited and I got to the ocean, I would just cry. And it would just, I'm like, and my husband's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I think this is just that next iteration that needed to come out. And this is where my system felt safe enough to release it. And I don't even know exactly for sure what it is, other than it's that thing that I've been pulling apart a lot of things. And this is a space was like, you can let it go here. This is where you can let it
Yeah.
go. So I think that understanding too, I'm like, it was the first time I really started, I'm like, this is actually this, I've had these different versions of it that I thought I was experiencing, these snapshots where there was an element to it, but this lighter, this ability to breathe, and the breathing is what brought this ability to take a deep breath and have it fully engulf my body. Wow. That's
I was gonna say, for me, I because I had so little ability of actually having a physical space that was
mhm.
a safe space, as an adult, what I have learned to do is I've made myself the safe space.
Mm.
And it was like it was so important to me to build that inner safety because
Mhm.
it doesn't matter where I am now. It doesn't matter if I don't if like I can't find a physical space. I mean, obviously that is a terrible place to be in. I have
Yeah.
You'd
but
never be there.
yes,
Yeah.
but
You
when
wouldn't
you
be in it now.
have that inner safety,
Mm.
it it just yeah, like I mean, I can be anywhere and like I'm safe within me. Like um
Mhm.
and like I had said before, it's like learning to trust myself.
That's it.
Mm.
I was just saying that trust
Yeah.
creates that.
Mm.
Exactly, to
Mm.
be able like, I know with everything that I have been through in my life, I
Mhm.
know without a doubt that I can get through anything. So
Yeah.
right? Like, I have been able to build that inner safety because I can trust myself. And you
Yeah.
don't have to go through terrible experiences to build
That's
self-trust.
yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Like when I'm talking to people, I say to them, I'm like I feel like the easiest way to start building your self-trust is literally just like keeping the promises that you make to yourself. Whether
Yeah.
that your calendar, like that's probably the number one for me, is like if
Mhm.
I put something in my calendar as a promise to myself, like going to the gym or
Mhm.
taking myself out on a solo date or something like that. If it's a
Mhm.
promise to myself, I have to keep that. It does
Yeah.
not become a lower priority than other appointments or meetings with other people. It's the
Mm,
Yeah.
same priority, if not higher.
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. Amanda, self-trust was big for you when you made the decision to leave your 17-year marriage
Yeah,
and to
absolutely.
name it. Talk to me about that evolution of, because you had been through all these habits, you had been built up and taught to not trust yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think it's once that acknowledgement, I mean, that comes first, acknowledging it cracks open that door to freedom.
Mhm.
And once then, it's by, yes, okay, your needs do matter. So every time you honor your needs, you rebuild your trust, your self-worth, your self-belief.
Mhm.
And every time, every moment that you choose yourself, and that's it. Every moment you choose yourself, you strengthen the belief that you deserve to create a better life. So really, when I started, and healing doesn't happen all at once.
No.
It's not it's not a single decision. It's a daily commitment. So
Yeah.
each time I went to that park, instead of going back to the chaos in my life, each time I spoke up, even though my voice was trembling, each
Mhm.
time I choose myself, I was reclaiming pieces of myself. Yeah. And that
Mhm.
self-trust is then you start to notice how you feel. You start to your your feelings, and you don't, and then you think, no, this doesn't feel right. And I used to override that, but I don't override that anymore.
Mhm.
I just, yes, because each time you override it, you lose yourself. So it's
Yeah.
acknowledging that, yes, it doesn't feel right. Okay, I will say something, or I will, do something about that. And it's important you recognize those things because, yeah, and I think it's a discovery. Look, when you
Mhm.
abandon yourself, then you're reconnecting back to yourself. You're discovering about yourself. You're thinking, okay, so what does love mean to me? What are
Mhm.
my boundaries? Boundaries aren't gates uh, to stop people from coming in. No, they are. It's a guideline to keep that peace that it's taken me so long to create. It's like,
Mhm.
I want to keep that peace within me.
Mhm. And
So
then you
it's not like you have to wait for somebody to cheat or betray you.
yeah.
No, respect and kindness. That's it's
Mhm.
you raise that, and it's a wonderful way of really connecting to yourself.
Mhm.
And yeah, and what are your values? I had no idea, in that 17 marriage, I had no idea of any of this. This is
Yeah.
life experience. This is
Yeah.
experiences in life to get to know yourself. Really,
Mhm.
what do you,
Yeah.
stand for in life? And my gosh, what a wonderful life it is, isn't it? To really get to know yourself, because then
Yeah.
you have the freedom, because you know what choices you're going to make,
Mhm.
and you
Yeah,
can
and
make those.
yeah, and you're never going to make choices that are hurtful to you. And if you and
No,
listen, you're going to have times where you step back, and then you can catch yourself. Yeah. Oh, hold on a
yes,
minute. That was an old habit. That's something that I know healthier now. I know different now. I'm going to go back and course correct on that. I'm going to go
yeah,
back and take that back. So being able to do that, but yeah, I think when you
yeah,
stop living, because when you start living in ways that abandon you, you live disassociated from your body. And so
mm,
when you live disassociated, in a sense, your nervous system is kind of keeping out all those nudges that are telling you this is not right, this is not healthy, this is not who you are, this is not what you actually believe. But when you come back home yourself and you start living present and you start noticing those nudges and acknowledging them and trusting them and acting on them, that's where the freedom and the trust gets built up again.
I was going to say too that it's also a practice. Like I think you had mentioned previously, Amanda, it's that constantly choosing, like, and each time that you choose, it reinforces it. I do want to introduce another aspect to this too, professional boundaries.
Yes.
So I have a podcast, and I just actually had a situation where I had a guest fit call. So for somebody who wants to be a guest on my podcast, and we chatted to make sure it was aligned. And I had invited her to come on the podcast. And then I sat with it, like it was just in my mind over the last few days, and we're supposed to record tomorrow. And I was like, I don't feel good. I actually can feel that I am like dreading this recording. And there was also part of me that was like, I can't cancel on her. Like, I've already told her that we can go ahead with the podcast. She's already, like, it's already booked. And I felt really guilty. And it was a moment where I had to choose that my comfort matters. Like, my body is telling me something. It doesn't, I'm sure nothing terrible was going to happen or anything like that. It's just, for whatever reason, my nervous system, my body is saying, this isn't right. And I just had to listen to that, even though I didn't have all of the details. And I think that's the other important part, is we don't have to know why. We don't have to know why our body is like, this doesn't feel right. You just listen and trust it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. I think that's such an important, and that was such a good example, because I do the same thing. I'll do the pre-meets, and I used to feel so guilty about, these people have a really meaningful, helpful thing, but it just, for this and that and the other reason, I'm not feeling like this, there's a space for it, but I feel dishonoring saying no to them, but also dishonoring me if I bring them on anyway. So I had to get real comfortable with like, no period, or no, thanks so much, great work, no space at this time, and leave it at that. Thank you so much. And not have, like, it goes into that trust in yourself, not over explaining, not apologizing. I've done episodes on all of these things over the last few weeks. And tomorrow we're going to talk about the communication piece of that, of like, not only setting those things, but then communicating them, and communicating them in a way that's honoring and kind, but also to you. But that those professional boundaries. I work with students at Fresno State, with young women in the business school there, and I'm always telling them, I'm like, be very mindful of the questions you ask. Don't be afraid to say no to something that doesn't honor you. It can be very scary trying to get a job out in the world, and you got to make money and all these things. But if you're getting, but ask questions and interview them to the point that you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And if there are things that are in there that are not honoring to your system feels unsettled, and it's not just nerves. It's like, I know this looks good on paper, but I don't feel right about it. I have a mentee that I work with, and she had that happen with an organization where they offered her something for the summer, but something that they said to her, not directed at her, but just in general about their culture, didn't sit right with her. And I'm like, I want you to trust that. This is going to feel weird, and I want you to trust that. There's something in your values that doesn't align with you. It's good for you to trust that. And it was kind of a great, kind of non-threatening way. And then when she did, she didn't feel like she had to take it, or there wouldn't be other opportunities. We have this scarcity mindset in our heads that we have to like say yes to these things, or something else might not come along, or maybe it's me reading too much into it. No, trust those little nudges. They're there to protect you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's walking your talk as well. You know what I mean? If you say you're into kindness and be kind to yourself, and I really think yes, it's yeah, your body knows. Your body really knows, even before you really know, doesn't it? You know, you get that feeling in the stomach, and it's always about follow that heart. You know, follow that
Mhm.
heart. That's what freedom is. You know, it is to have fun on the journey. Have fun. You
Mhm.
know, happiness. You know, you are responsible for your own happiness.
Mhm.
And yeah, and it's taking responsibility and creating a life because really often we get lost in our life direction because
Yeah.
we don't know where we want to go.
Mhm.
So I think it's also giving yourself a permission to dream again. Come on, let's dream again. You know, what
Yeah.
would you do? You know, what do you want? So it's bringing that back because that's an important, uh, that's important life direction. And gosh, and I never ever thought about that back then, but it is. It's one of the areas we can lose ourselves. You know, we get
Mhm.
into somebody else's journey and we're not saying, no, this is what I want to bring in. And whether those people are with us when we're doing it, great. You know, if they're not, then you know, it's really important to have that page of where you want to go in life.
Yeah.
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 And
Oh,
do they
yeah.
fit in? Are they aligned to that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing up the job stuff, Jess. I think that's so important. I think the other thing too,
Yeah.
you know, we're doing a book club right now, and we're wrapping it up this coming week on Our Invisible Work is what it's called. And it talks about all the invisible work that happens in the world that's done a lot by women, a lot by people, you know, marginalized communities and whatnot, a lot that's set up in systems that's in place already that you don't stop and think about and you
Mm,
just do every day or you feel obligated to do, and a lot of times people don't notice or they take it for granted or they're not aware, and it's like those things that you're being asked to do. If you feel like you have to do that in order to keep your job and you know, it feels out of alignment, it's time to have a conversation, start asking more questions, stick up for yourself, communicate. Or is this something, a thought in your head that you've created? And they're like, oh, no, you don't have to do that. We just thought you liked it. Or we just thought that aligned with you. So many times we build up these conversations in our head to be more than what they actually are. Again, coming back to that communication piece, advocating for yourself, speaking up, trusting
mm,
that. And that goes in the workplace too. That is, you spend a lot of time in the workplace and a lot of energy. Make sure that needs to be honoring to you as well, as much as that's possible. That is a privilege for a lot of people. Not everyone has that choice, but within whatever is your choice within that, however it feels safe for you to communicate that, being honest and open about that, but that cannot abandoning yourself. So many times, if we are in narratives or spaces where, you know, I need this to support my family. Okay, what are you doing outside of that to take care of you? What are you doing outside of that to fill
mm.
your cup, to listen to your needs, to honor yourself? And so this can take on a lot of different looks in a lot of different places. But as we wind this conversation up today, Amanda, what's one last thought you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Well, self-belief is everything to changing your world. The
Mm,
easiest thing is to blame other people, but it's
mm,
not until we don't accept the abuse any longer and we start to believe in ourselves that
yeah,
things can start to change. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Jess, how about you?
Well, on your last point, Melissa, I had a thought and it was right there.
I know. It happens to me all the time.
Oh, I know what it was. We were talking about the work boundaries and that it is a privilege. Not everybody um, can necessarily stand strong in that in a work setting. But I think to bring that back to even like the basic level is like as long as you initiate that conversation in the first place, that
Mhm.
is you not abandoning yourself. You don't have control.
Mm.
You don't have control over the outcome. And after you get that outcome, then you can decide what is the next step for you. That's not abandoning yourself. But to begin with, it's just having that conversation. But my final thought to people would be that we've talked a lot about how we can make these choices to not abandon ourselves, but I want to really clearly state for everybody that you don't have to be perfect. Like we're never going to be perfect. We are never going to constantly choose ourselves every single choice.
Exactly.
It is normal, and it's normal, and I would say it's okay to occasionally not choose yourself. I think it's just that when you're making those choices, you're aware that like this is a moment where I'm choosing to make a sacrifice. That is okay for you to do. And I think we really only lose ourselves in it if we're not aware that it's a sacrifice and that we are constantly sacrificing.
Yeah, that's such a great delineation. Thank you so much for that. There are times when you say yes to something and you realize later on, oof, at the time this felt okay. Now all these other things have happened. It doesn't, but I'm going to honor that. I'm not going to back out at the last minute. I'm going to honor that. So how can I get myself ready for that, this in the moment? And this is also a great awareness that instead of looking 1 month down my calendar, I should look 3 months down my calendar, and I know better moving forward. So I'm going to honor that commitment. I'm going to show up. I'm going to try to get good sleep tonight and bring my healthiest self. But yeah, and also we're just not going to get it right all the time. And that's why when I bring it back home to what I said in the beginning, the reason I created this framework, bring you back to ask yourself those questions. Catch yourself when you get off track and get back in alignment. Not beating up yourself, not doubting yourself, not questioning yourself constantly, but just helping you remember a lot happens in life. We have to make a series of choices, millions of choices all the time, every day. We're not going to get it right every time. Sometimes we're going to make snap decisions, and there's not a lot of time to process whether you've got the energy or not. But you can go back home, and that's why I tell people we're at the halfway point of 26. I know that's mind-blowing. This is a great time. And I said this last week on our podcast episodes. This is a great time to check in with yourself and to check in with, have I thought about how I'm feeling lately? Have I thought about if my calendar's aligned? Have I thought about if these activities are still nourishing me? Have I thought about if my values have shifted at all in this season? I mean, it's a great time. Go to our framework, and I'm going to put our PDF in freebie that I have in all of our show notes for the podcast, and I'm going to include it here this week. It's going to take you back home to those 3 key questions that I ask all the women I work with at the very beginning is, describe yourself by your character traits, identify 5 activities that nourish you, and identify how you want to feel over the next 6 months. Come back home to those basic questions. They'll lead you down the road of realizing, oh, there's some places I've been abandoning myself that I just didn't catch, or life got frenetic, or I need to rethink that. Because it's like Jess says, it's not about being perfect. It's about being aware. It's about being present. It's about the acknowledgement. It's about, like Amanda said, the accountability. We teach people how to treat us by what we will and won't allow. So that making those choices and being accountable and present and realizing what that's happened and what needs to happen for you to live out of that honestly and fully. But so that PDF is going to be attached there. I've got more resources too. So do these ladies. All of our resources are going to be listed in the show notes for whatever it is that connects with you, that you think is going to help you or help other women in this conversation, or just be those reminders. Maybe you're like, I'm in pretty good shape, but I feel like I could use some more checkpoints. I feel like I could use some more nudges in my accountability. Some of these things might be helpful. All of that's going to be there in our show notes. But thank you so much. Amanda, tell people where they can find and follow you.
Oh, lovely. Well, they connect with me on AmandaJScott.com. And, there they can find updates, blog updates. They can find my book, Finding My Way Back to Me, which is a short read, but it's a great reminder that we all deserve to be treated with kindness and respect.
Yeah.
Anybody wants to contact me, my email's on there. I personally send them back things because it's always good to have support's really important. Friends, people around you. That is vital. And that was a lifeline for me. It really was a lifeline to support. So if anybody wants to send me a note, I'll send them something back. If you know a friend that's going through this, it's just what you do. It's about acknowledging the situation. And sometimes the best thing is through a friend because they can see it.
Yeah.
They can see the signs.
Yeah,
This
that
isn't
you might miss.
normal. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those mirrors are important.
And
All
they
right.
build your self-worth as well.
They do.
They help you see it sometimes before you know it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. So good. Thank you so much for that. All right, Jess, how about you?
Yeah, so my podcast is Life After Trauma with Jess Vanrose. I do offer one-on-one guided sessions, so if you don't have a safe friend like Amanda is talking about, I can be your safe friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe that everybody has the answers with themselves. And so I don't necessarily like to call what I do coaching. I call it more guidance because I really just help you along the way, figure out what's going on inside you. And yeah, so that's on my website, which is jessicavanrose.com. Melissa, I'll send you the link for the guided sessions.
Awesome.
And yeah, the podcast Life After Trauma. I think my Instagram at Jess Vanrose.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
Hang out with me there.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. And then for me, embracinglayers.com, I've just updated our homepage. I'm very excited about it. Everything's very easy to find, whether you're looking for a free one-on-one empowerment session. Jess and I are in sync. I don't see myself as a coach either. I'm just there, just like she and I are very aligned in this. I'm just there to remind you of what's already within you and how this field framework can support you and give you the questions to ask yourself and get yourself where it is you want to be. It's all there. Our book, empowerment sessions, online course, podcast, all that stuff is right there on that front page. Click the contact form. That we've all got resources. We all want to help you decide who it is that you connect with and want to walk through this with you. That's why we do this. We've learned from our own journeys and we've created resources out of that. And we want to share those with you. So choose those ones that align with you, share them with your friends, take good care of yourselves this week. Remember, you are valuable, you are worthy, and you get to choose. You get to choose to no longer abandon yourself. You get to choose freedom for yourself. Take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time here on Together We Feel Women's Panel Show.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining me, ladies.
Thank you.